Welcome everybody for round 7 of the PCDC Managers League here in 1989. We have Mauricio Gugelmin lining up on the front row with Jan Lammers in the Zach Speed alongside of him, and the green light is on, and let's see who gets a better start. It's hard to tell by this camera angle, but Mauricio Gugelmin takes to the long run down to turn 1 to La Bretelle. And around the outside goes Jan Lammers in the Zach Speed. Had a really good start, and in third we have Ross Cheever, who's also putting the pressure on Gugelmin, and so does Emerson Fittipaldi. Now we have the really long straight Ligne Droite du Mistral, and then we go into Courbe du Cygne. And Mauricio Gugelmin still in second, but Jan Lammers with that great start getting around the outside of Gugelmin. Little breakaway there for the top 4, and then comes John Nielsen with Alain Prost right behind him. So Prost doing a good job there as well, qualifying I think up in 5th, so he might have lost one position to John Nielsen. I think John Nielsen also got a really good start for Zach Speed, because I think he was down in 8th or 9th even. As they come around the last corner and complete the first lap. I think Alain Prost might try something here down into turn 1. Let's see, does he get a good enough run? It does seem so. He tries up the inside, and Nielsen trying to cover it off, and he does so. Manages to keep it around the outside, and let's look further down. We have Roberto Moreno in 7th. Then comes Nelson Piquet in the Benetton in 8th. As now Roberto Moreno down the straightaway, trying to get past Alain Prost, and I think he does so. Yes, he does. So Prost now in a vulnerable position. He has to try and keep in the slipstream of Roberto Moreno. And then Al Unser Jr. in 9th with a slight lockup, actually almost allows Mika Hakkinen to come through. Mika Hakkinen nicely inside the top 10, and actually Ayrton Senna here in 11th, struggling. So that's a bit of a surprise. Senna struggling in that Lotus here at Paul Ricard. Very fast track, and not a lot of corners to make time up, so most of the time comes down the straightaways, of course. And now here comes Michael Andretti putting the pressure onto Senna into turn 1, as we still see Prost and Moreno battle in the forefront. And let's see here if Michael Andretti can do it. Yes, up the inside Michael Andretti goes and gets past Ayrton Senna. So very nicely done by Andretti. And oh, actually, as I say that, Michael Andretti with some sort of issue very early on into the race here. Andretti might be coming to a standstill here. We'll see if he can make it around the track. Let's hope he does, because they might be able to resolve that issue in the pits. And now there's quite a train forming behind him with Martin Brundle trying to get past here. Yes, he's gonna get around the outside, and that's gonna create a nice little gap to that train of cars behind. Andretti just babying that car to the pit entry. And here they come through the last corner. Can Andretti hold on there? Yes, he does. He'll have to move to the inside now, though. Yes, there he goes. Oh, and there's a collision now. A collision with Satoru Nakajima. I don't think there was any damage, luckily. But that could have been catastrophic, as Riccardo Patrese gives a slight bump there to I don't know, one of the Euro Bruns. And then we have Mika Hakkinen, and who is that? Mika Hakkinen and Al Unser Jr. might have gotten together into some sort of issue, and then Hakkinen dropped down and now actually waited for Michael Andretti to get past. So very unfortunate for the young Finn, as Jan Lammers still leading the race. But that being said, Ross Cheever in the Minardi is putting on some good pace here, and he is ready to challenge for the podium here, and possibly even a race win, as Emerson Fittipaldi now comes through. So after initially getting that pole position, Maurizio Gugelmin has slightly dropped off in pace as Jan Lammers makes a mistake there. Jan Lammers with a mistake, but does get a good run out of Ez de l'École. And now down the straightaway, he will try to pull alongside the Ferrari of Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi doing a good job hanging around the outside and does cover that route off now. And now it is Maurizio Gugelmin actually getting past Ross Cheever. So yeah, Slipstream doing wonders for some of these cars. And John Nielsen now up into 5th. I believe he started 9th or 8th. So Nielsen really making up time and trying to latch onto the back of Ross Cheever. Then comes Nelson Piquet. He's in a solid 6th position. Does have Alain Prost right behind him. And Prost, as we see now, will try to make a move here. Goes to the inside. Will Piquet go defensive? Oh, I don't think so. And oh, a mistake by Ross Cheever. Mistake by Ross Cheever. So he goes off. And he's waiting to get going as the traffic comes past him. Oh, and he's going to lose a boatload of time as there's plenty of cars still coming. So you could say he could just go on the inside here and just start rolling again, but he wants to play it safe, I guess. So what a shame for Ross Cheever there, as he was really pushing hard, maybe a bit too hard, which might have caused his mistake, but I'm sure he'll be able to recover this race somewhat. Let's hope he does. So Lammers still in first, then comes Emerson Fittipaldi, then Maurizio Gugelmin. Actually, John Nielsen has dropped back a bit. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, Jan Lammers still in the lead, and then the 2 Ferraris going at it, chasing down the leader. They're not too far behind, but they're dodging and weaving across the straight, and oh, I don't know if this is a great idea by the Ferraris. They're battling as, well, they're close in the standings. Maurizio Gugelmin with 16 points in 6th, and then Emerson Fittipaldi. Actually, let's go to 9th place, because for the round 7 here, of course, big news that Pierluigi Martini was let go by Minardi. They have compensated Pier Martini for his driving, but team boss MDK was not content with the performance of Martini and has hired Michele Alboreto. So the Italian, of course, already experienced in F1, didn't have a seat for last year, but he's ready to go. As you can see, he's in 9th place, which is actually very decent. His teammate Cheever obviously fighting for that podium, but now down in 20th. But let's hope for Minardi that Alboreto gives them a little bit of consistency and a good second driver for that team. But so far so good for Alboreto, as he's trying to chase down Ayrton Senna in front of him, who seems to be struggling here today in Paul Ricard. So interesting to see. You won't see Ayrton Senna having a day off that much. So here comes Riccardo Patrese in the Ligier, right next to Martin Brundle. Brundle also one of those drivers that's really shown up this year, and in that improved Williams. We know it's not a perfect car yet, but see, Brundle is definitely trying to maximize the potential of it with his teammate Jeff Lees down in 18th. And Patrese now for Ligier, trying his best as Brundle now gets up the inside. And will this be move done for the Williams driver? Let's see. Still side by side. Olije actually edging ahead quite a bit, but Brundle trying to squeeze him out actually makes a mistake. And through goes Patrese again. Then in 12th we have Eddie Lawson in the Eurobrun. Then comes Bobby Rahal in the BMW. Then Satoru Nakajima. Then comes Yannick Dalmas in that McLaren, still struggling. While his teammate is in 6th. Then comes JJ Leto, the rookie for Benetton. Then we have Jeff Lees, the second Williams. Then comes Theo Fabi. Then Ross Cheever. So Ross Cheever back up into 19th. He's trying to make up positions, but it's a difficult one. Let's go back to the front actually, because I think we just missed some action there with Emerson Fittipaldi trying to get through on Jan Lammers. You can see in the background there actually for 3rd all the way up to 7th. It's very close, only a couple of seconds. And oh, someone made a mistake. Let's see. As we skip through, who is that in the gravel pit? It is Bobby Rahal for BMW. So once again, we've seen time and time again that BMW seems to be so unstable, and Bobby Rahal again suffering from it as he well, I'm not quite sure if that's the issue, but again, a strange place to be struggling. And oh, there's another. Wow, there's a couple of cars off here. That is Nelson Piquet, Jeff Lees. Who's all involved in this? Riccardo Patrese. Mika Hakkinen goes through again. The 2 Williams are actually involved in this. So they go right to the back of the field again. And that's 4 cars off in 1 corner. Which is something you won't see a lot. And surprisingly, everyone comes out of there with no damage. And unfortunately, Martin Brundle will have to rejoin in last place, as there's the leaders already. So that just makes you, well, shows you how much time they lost there. And let's take a look at the lap time. So far, best lap time by Emerson Fittipaldi, 108.6, which is 4/10 clear of the nearest car. So Fittipaldi really putting on a show. And there's another spin for... who is that? Or is that some sort of issue? No mechanical issues. So Jeff Lees again with a spin, and he's trying to rejoin the track, but a lot of oncoming traffic as he has to still turn that car around. There's again calamities in the first turn. So yeah, with these slipstream battles going on, there's a lot of drivers missing their braking points, making mistakes, and that is really having an impact here as we try to see here. This is Eddie Lawson. Who else is involved? Oh, it's the 2 Eurobruns, of course, as it couldn't get worse for them. Both of them involved in an accident here, and after this car comes past, they should be able to start get going again. They're trying, but they might be stuck in the gravel pit here, and then there's more traffic, so they're being held up even longer. And this is just a disaster for Eurobrun. This is already... might be a race they might already write off here, as both of their drivers stuck in the gravel pit there. And they do try to get going, but there's so much traffic coming that it's hard for them to pick a piece of track that's open for them. And yeah, it looks like they won't be moving for quite a while here, as they're just traffic that keeps on coming. Satoru Nakajima is trying to get back onto the track, but this is yeah, an absolute disaster, as this is the leaders once again coming past, and now Emerson Fittipaldi actually gets into the lead. But unfortunately, I think that is most of the race over for the Eurobruns as they try to rejoin the track. And Fittipaldi now putting on some good pace. He's trying to pull away from the exact speed of Jan Lammers. And Taking a look at the previous results for Zach Speed, they're still in the lead in the constructors, but last few races have been disappointing in terms of result. There was a 7th place in the last round, and then before that there was a podium, but there was also 4 DNFs in the last 3 races. I think in the meanwhile Nakajima has gotten going, but believe, yes, Eddie Lawson's still stuck. You can see his wheel spinning there, so he might be stuck on something there. Let's hope at some point he can get moving, but yeah, needless to say, I think Eddie Lawson's race is definitely over. At least Nakajima got moving again, but this is the worst case scenario here for Eurobrunt. In the meanwhile, we have Alain Prost fighting with Roberto Moreno, as now Ayrton Senna and Roberto Moreno have really capitalized from all of these issues for the other teams. And they're now up into 5th and 6th, so the ties are really swinging in this one. Now Prost showing his nose there through Roberto Moreno. Prost keen to get by again. And Prost now goes up the inside. And down to start-finish straight. It does seem like he's edging ahead now, and he should get that move done. Slightly moves into Moreno there, but there's someone else off, and that is that once again Leto? Yes, it is. But yeah, that's JJ Leto getting going now again, but not the best day here for the Benetton rookie. He's had some good races. Unfortunately, he hasn't scored points yet, but he's had some good performances, and there is some future in him. But yeah, not having a great day here in France. And oh, big mistake! Ayrton Senna goes out of the race. Big crash as the Brazilian just goes careening straight off into the barrier. And that is race over for one of the Lotuses. So Ayrton Senna out of this race as Ross Cheever comes by. Let's hope he's okay. And meanwhile, Alain Prost has had to pit for some sort of brake malfunction. It was quite a violent crash there for Ayrton Senna in that Lotus. And moving on, we have Yannick Dalmas now. Again, someone really capitalizing from all of these mistakes, as his teammate Prost there is right behind him. So Dalmas just capitalizing on misfortune of others and, well, mistakes, honestly. Driver mistakes. And Alain Prost now should be on a fresh set of tires so he can go full attack mode. And I'm sure his teammate Dalmas won't give him too hard of a time. And now I see Mika Hakkinen is suffering and he has a puncture. So Mika Hakkinen pulls off in Le Pingle de Bendor. And that will be race over for one of the Ligiers on lap 17 of 80. So 2 retirements in a short span of time. Ayrton Senna with what looked to be a driver error, and then Mika Hakkinen goes out with a mechanical failure. Meanwhile, let's go back to the front as Emerson Fittipaldi has taken the lead, and seen in the past is that Ferrari's been very fast, but unfortunately in the past 3 rounds they've always DNF'd both of their cars. So let's hope round 7 here is a turning point for the Scuderia. And Emerson Fittipaldi doing a good job leading this race, and obviously his teammate Maurizio Gugelmin in second. So 1-2 right now for Ferrari. And then come the 2 Zach speeds. So we have Jan Lammers and John Nielsen in 3rd and 4th, trying to chase down and bring the fight to the Ferraris. Then comes Michele Alboreto, so the new signing for Minardi, showing his worth to manager MDK, and doing a good job here in 5th place as Ross Cheever is trying to catch up 2 spots behind him, and Roberto Moreno in 6th, trying to hang on to the back of that Minardi. And then here's Eddie Lawson. He's gotten underway, but he has a lot of ground to make up. 3 laps behind at this point in time. Nelson Piquet only 1 spot up ahead from his teammate Lithgow in 15th and 16th respectively. Meanwhile, Martin Brundle and Jeff Lees are also trying to make up lost time. Ross Cheever still has Alain Prost onto the back of him though, and Prost now has made that pit stop, so he should be on very fresh tires compared to Ross Cheever, and I don't think this... well, it shouldn't be much of a fight, as Prost just has such a massive tire advantage. But actually, Cheever trying to hold on, but does end up conceding. And now down the straightaway we go. Let's see if Cheever has anything to answer to Prost on the straightaway. He should be getting some slipstream. But is it gonna be enough? No, I don't think so. Prost doesn't manage to stay ahead. And now I think the first pit stops are starting to come in, so Fittipaldi electing for quite an early pit stop. We do expect 2 pit stops, of course, like most races. And yeah, Lammers now getting the pit stop as well, the pit stop call. So Lammers possibly looking for that undercut on the second Ferrari of Gugelmin. So it does seem now Alain Prost has gotten through and is steering clear of Ross Cheever in the Minardi. And now a mistake for Michele Alboreto. Oh, this is a disaster. Let's hope he can get going quick. Let's see, let's hope he rejoins here. Yes, he does. So not all is lost for Alboreto. He's still inside that top 10, and there's another car there. Again, Roberto Moreno is in the gravel pit. So he's trying to get going, but he's stuck in the gravel. There's a lot of issues happening there on turn 1, where it's that long straight into turn 1, big braking zone, and a lot of drivers just misjudging their speed going into that corner. So Moreno will probably drop down quite a ways, and he will have a big recovery race on his hands. Michael Andretti now in 10th behind, or in front of Teo Fabi in the BMW. And Fabi actually trying a little move there, didn't really amount to anything, but Michael Andretti doing very decently. His teammate Alonso Jr. though up in 8th, as he just lapped Satoru Nakajima. Alonso Jr. doing good, just inside the points here for Tyrrell, which is big. They're obviously, well, they're kind of still in the fight with McLaren at this point in time. So Tyrrell in 6th place, McLaren in 5th. Tyrrell at the moment 22 points, and then McLaren 26. They're also, of course, in the fight with Ligier, Minardi. They're not too far behind. Ligier has 19 points in the standings, and Minardi 15. Then comes Eurobrun with 11, then BMW with 8, and lastly Williams with 6. So we will see how that plays out throughout the race here. But yeah, Alonso Jr. doing very decently, and is actually, I think, slowly catching up to Yannick Dalmas in front. So last time for Answer Jr., yeah, at 1 minute 10.195, and Dalmas doing 11s right now, so 13s even last lap, so might have had some sort of incident. But Answer Jr. now being re-overtaken by Nakajima, so Nakajima isn't too keen on waiting around and actually trying to unlap himself. Yannick Dalmas at the front of this little train here. Ross Cheever back up in 6th, so he's made up some good time. Obviously, we saw him in 2nd place at one point during the race, but fortunately, and just a slight misjudgment which caused him to drop back. Meanwhile, yeah, net race leader still Emerson Fittipaldi, I believe, and Moreno now in the pits. 6.4 seconds. Seemed like quite a long pit stop. I'm not sure though. There's another issue. Who's made a mistake? Now it is Al Unser Jr. And it looks actually like his car is being lifted away. So he might have been completely stuck or stalled out his car, but that's Al Unser Jr. out of this race for Tyrrell. Meanwhile, more cars coming into pit, and Alboreto actually being held up there a little bit by one of the Williams coming out of the pits. And now Alboreto slots in just ahead of Teo Fabi, obviously. Fabi has just pit, so he's on fresh tires. And John Nielsen now also getting a pit call. So yeah, Fittipaldi still in the net race lead. And John Nielsen will be sealing that position when he comes into the pits. Ross Cheever still to make a pit stop, as Alonso Jr. still being lifted off, but Satoru Nakajima also on his road to recovery. I doubt he'll be making up 2 laps anytime soon. He also comes into the pits now for his first pit stop. And goes into the box. Very kind of tight pit box here, so teams are all close together. John Nielsen coming around the last bend. He's gonna pull to the right and get that fresh set of tires on, and well, he will have a couple laps advantage on the likes of Fittipaldi and Gugelmin when it comes to tire life, but we also gotta remember there's still that second stop. As Michael Andretti in 7th, Ross Cheever is now coming into the pits. Let's see if we can keep an eye on whereabouts Michael Andretti is. So Michael Andretti in 7th, coming around the last corner now. Ross Cheever still getting his fresh tires on, so Andretti will steer clear of him quite comfortably. As here he comes down the straightaway, and only now Ross Cheever comes out, so he'll be quite a few seconds behind there, but Cheever back into the points. In the meanwhile, Maurizio Gugelmin in 2nd place, trying to put the fight maybe or chase down his teammate Fittipaldi, but I'm sure he'll be just glad with a 2nd place as well. Big thing for Ferrari is just finishing this race. They need to just get points on the board and close that gap to Benetton Lotus and Zach Speed in front of them. as Lammers seems to go slightly deep into turn 1. Lammers on that long straightaway under the Gitanas bridge. Gugelmin still managing his way through Double Droit du Bousset or Bosset. And then he comes up to Le Pingle de Bendor. And then turn 9, Est du Village. On board with Jan Lammers now, and meanwhile, Alain Prost has managed to squeeze himself inside of the top 5. So I'm not sure if he's still planning on making 2 more pits, or if that early pit stop will save him a pit stop later down the line. He's not too far off of John Nielsen in front in 4th place. Meanwhile, Mauricio Gugelmin getting up to the back of one of the Williamses. I think it's probably Martin Brundle in front of him. There's Lammers again running slightly wide, maybe pushing a bit too hard, and then there's another issue. Roberto Moreno with fire and smoke coming out of the engine bay of his car. And surely he's gonna pull over. Yes, there goes the engine completely, and he will have to pull off to the side of the road. That again is well, it's a double DNF for Lotus like it was last time. So unfortunate for them, but both Ayrton Senna and Roberto Moreno out of the race now, as the marshals work hard to clear that car from any danger, and most importantly the driver, of course. So he will be wheeled down to the side of the track and then lifted over the barriers. Meanwhile, Alain Prost still in 5th place, only 1.5 or so seconds behind John Nielsen in front. Meanwhile, we have Theo Fabi, on the edge of some points. So BMW driver is right on the cusp of those points. You can see Alboreto in front of him, and there's also, I think, Dalmas. There's a Eurobrun mixed in there. Yeah, good opportunity for BMW here, as Jeff Lees also getting past one of the Eurobruns. Down the straightaway he goes. Meanwhile, Mauricio Gugelmin still in 2nd place. He's running at a good pace. Jan Lammers and John Nielsen are nowhere near the 2 Ferraris. Then comes Alain Prost in 5th place. Then Ross Cheever Also has a very big gap to close down to Alain Prost. And Yannick Dalmas in a surprise 7th. Dalmas so far scoring 3 points. That was those were scored in the first race of the season. And well, he might be looking to add a couple more to that. Now Michael Andretti still in 10th. There's Bobby Rahal and Ricard Patrese behind him. And here comes Satoru Nakajima up the inside of Martin Brundle. And they're on the same lap, so they're fighting for a position, I think. Unless that is Nakajima unlapping himself from Brundle. The one thing I do see here, if you can find JJ Leto. Leto with some sort of mechanical issue or electrical issue, I should say. And he pulls into the pits to try and get that issue resolved, but he will lose even more time than he already has. Fresh set of tires on for the Finnish driver, and off he goes. There comes Jeff Lees, he comes past. There's a big train of car there coming down the straightaway. We have BMW of Fabi and Michael Andretti in the Tyrrell fighting. And oh, one of the BMW goes off there. That's Bobby Rahal. He's in the gravel in turn 1 again. It's quite a tight corner, turn 1, and driver's just making silly mistakes, losing them heaps of time, trying to rejoin. And he does get moving now out of the gravel over the curb, and he gets going, but now Bobby Rahal down to 13th. Oh, and another issue for one of the Ferraris. So Maurizio Guglielmin, he's slowing down. It's catching up to Emerson Fittipaldi, but now has to make another unscheduled pit stop. But he comes down the straightaway. He's gonna surely pull in here to the side. Yes, he does. Now let's see if Ferrari can deal with that issue. Pulls in. Old tires goes off. The fresh ones go on. They check the car. Maybe just a loose wire or something. And I think he's gotten his issue resolved as he's now back out of the pits. Fairly fast pit stop, 4.9 seconds. Most of the previous ones were around 6 seconds, I believe. And now, again, Maurizio Guglielmin, not all is bad. He's on a fresh set of tires, so can make up a lot of time that way compared to some of the front runners. Guglielmin down in 5th now, but is already, well, has done two pit stops, but could still have a third. And now 34 laps in, we'll go on board with our leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, for a couple laps. And we'll go on board, and I'll be right back with you. And I come back here to Emerson Fittipaldi. We're about 43 minutes into the race, and as you can have probably seen, John Nielsen out of the race now with a some sort of suspension failure, as he's oh, I can see his car parked up there on the start-finish straight. So unfortunately for Zach Speed, John Nielsen will not be finishing this race. Zach Speed also, well, not exactly struggling to finish a race, but they're about 50-50 so far into the season. And they've definitely shown some good consistency when it comes to finishing, or at least having one finisher in the race, which is not too bad of a statistic. Meanwhile, we now have been added here. Emerson Fittipaldi still in first. Still have to pit, and teammate Maurizio Gugelmin has come in with that, I think it was an electrical issue. And now we actually see Terese and Michael Andretti still fighting for this 9th position, as there's again JJ Leto and once again Jeff Lee. So the Bennettons and the Williamses here have been struggling quite a bit here today. Also, PK still doing all right there in 8th place, but he's also a lap down from that earlier incident. So yeah, again, just lots of incidents happening at that first turn as the BMW comes through. There's a second BMW. Can Leto get going again? He paused again. More oncoming traffic in the form of Ross Cheever. Then one of the Eurobruns, I think Eddie Lawson. And now Leto gets out of it again, but Leto having a horrible day. And, well, nothing more can be said about it, really. In the meanwhile, Jan Lammers carrying the torch onwards for Zach Speed with Maurizio Gugelmin in 3rd place. He's trying to, well, make up some good time now as he's had that issue earlier. And then Theo Fabi down in 12th. He's trying to wrangle that BMW to the line, as Alain Prost also gets his pit call. So Prost in 4th now, doing very respectably. He's now gonna, even though he's about 6.9 seconds, maybe a bit less away from Jan Lammers, he might try to undercut him. He has a big gap to Ross Cheever. I don't think it'll be enough to come out in front of him, but shouldn't be too much of a hassle once he does come up to the back of Ross Cheever, if he still hasn't pitted by then. Rundle now in 14th. His teammate not too far behind in 13th there, Jeff Lees. And there comes Jan Lammers, I think that is. Yes, it is. And Fabi now in 12th. Alain Prost does come into the pits. I'm just interested to see whereabouts Ross Cheever is in comparison to Prost. So, oh yeah, Prost coming out of the pit there, actually quite close. And yeah, there you go. Prost rejoins behind Cheever, but I'm sure on a fresh set of tires, he's gonna be on the back of that Minardi in no time. So Prost actually looking at a decent finish here. His teammate Dalmas also in 6th, still has to make a pit stop, but all the cars behind him pretty much do as well. So yeah, Dalmas also looking at some points in 7th now, as he's maybe he's fighting with Oh yes, he is. So Michele Alboreto and Yannick Dalmas fighting for 6th place. So again, the second Minardi driver showing up for his first race, and experience really showing through here for Alboreto. As both of the Minardis now in the points in 4th and 6th. So Alboreto really showing he belongs in F1. And it's a shame that he wasn't there in 88. Comes back, is immediately back on the pace, so very respectable by the Italian. Alboreto now, well, actually slowly creating a little bit of a gap, I think, to Dalmas, so he might have just about steered clear, but now here comes PK. He's also desperate to make up some time, and he will probably get past Yannick Dalmas and Riccardo Patrese not too far behind, so Dalmas still has a big task ahead of him here to stay ahead of these two behind him. They're showing some good pace. Meanwhile, Gugelmin is now actually almost onto the back of Lammers, and I believe they probably both still need to make a pit stop, but we'll see how do you think about the strategy now that Gugelmin has made that extra pit stop? I think, yes, PK now on the start-finish straight has gotten past Dalmas, and quite comfortably at that. And now PK hunting down the next car in front of him, which will be Michele Alboreto in the Minardi. PK, he is currently championship leader after he's gotten a surprise back-to-back victory in round 3 and 4 it was. Which, Benetton really showing up as the dark horse here this season, in 3rd place at the moment in the Constructors, ahead of Ferrari and McLaren, so very respectable here. Doesn't seem like they're quite up to pace here on the fast circuit of Paul Ricard, but he's doing his best here to try and get up to the back of that Minardi and try and score some extra points. Meanwhile, Jan Lammers is supposed to be in the pits. Yes, he is. And I think Gugelmin, yes, Gugelmin already came past him, so that's the Ferrari back to a P2, and Jan Lammers with a pit stop of 6.5 seconds, and he's ready now to set some blistering times. I imagine on the lighter fuel load now, this should be the last pit stop for any of the cars stopping now, as they'll be able to run much longer on a fresh set of tires now. A lot of weight has been taken out of the car with the fuel burning. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi also gets his pit call, so now it'll be interesting to see if Gugelmin still has to make a stop before the end. He obviously had to make an earlier stop. Meanwhile now, Jeff Lees putting the pressure on to, well, one of the Eurobruns, but that was just wasn't for position, just to get past. He does have Maurizio Gugelmin behind him, so Interested to see what happens here. Is Jeff Lee's gonna make it any harder than it needs to be, or doesn't seem like it? Does seem like, yeah, he even let off the throttle there a little bit to let Gugelmin pass, and maybe try and use some of that slipstream, but seems like Gugelmin's just way too fast at this point of the race. Fittipaldi into the pits right now as we head to lap 48. And let's see now, Gugelmin coming around the last corner. I think Fittipaldi will actually comfortably exit ahead of him. It's a really, really long straightaway, but yeah, there he goes. So Emerson Fittipaldi a couple of seconds ahead of his teammate, even with the pit stop. Now the big question being, does Gugelmin still have to make an extra pit stop or not? As that could be decisive for that that second position of this race. Meanwhile, Alain Prost has made his pit stop. There's one of the Williams coming out the pits there. And we have Teo Fabi. He's also made his 2 pit stops, so be interested to see how that plays out with all the cars that still have to pit. Meanwhile, Emo still in the lead. He's now coming up to the back of, I believe that is Michael Andretti in the Tyrrell. Michael Andretti 9th at the moment. I just want to take a look at some of the lap times here. Michael Andretti doing 109.2, so no way he is catching up to any of the cars ahead, I think. They all seem to be outpacing him. Will be able to manage to stay ahead of Dalmas, most likely. And Emerson Fittipaldi now getting past him. Andretti not making it too hard. Doesn't want to lose any time, I don't think. It's essentially not in the fight with Fittipaldi anyway, so... yeah, 107's being hit now on those fresh tires, lower fuel load. And the fastest time so far was by Jan Lammers, I think. Oh no, Emerson Fittipaldi with a 107.342. Fittipaldi really flying at this stage, and well, looking at a solid victory here if he can keep up the pace. His teammate Gugelmin there in the background, not too far behind. Here comes Jan Lammers. To Eurobruns in 16th and 17th, obviously had those issues at the start and just lost heaps and heaps of times. 3 laps down, both of the Eurobruns. They've actually performed quite respectably. No one really thought they'd stand a chance of scoring much points at the start of the season, but they have already collected 11 of them, so that puts them up 9th in the constructor standings right now. And Martin Brundle still kind of fighting it out with his teammate. Have been much higher up, of course, but also struggling those same issues that the Eurobrun had. There's now some inter-team war. Maybe the Williams drivers just having some fun, because they're not fighting for any points at the moment. Kelly Alboreto still in 8th, so Patrese hasn't quite managed to catch up to him. Meanwhile, Dalmas still running inside that top 10. Be interesting to see if he holds on. Well, Jeff Lees still just neck on neck with his teammate, Martin Brundle. Mauricio Guillermin still doing a solid job holding on to that second position. As Eddie Lawson comes in for another pit stop, which will very likely just be his last. Oh, and a mistake from Nelson Piquet. Oh, and a big collision. Big collision as Piquet rejoins the track. In front of, was that Alboreto, I think? Yes, it must have been. Oh yes, Alboreto is losing, he's lost his front wing, or part of his front wing, in that collision with Piquet, as Piquet, well, surely was dangerously rejoining the track there, and Alboreto will have to come into the pits to change out that front wing, and, well, they'll also change out the tires at the same time, but that is, so unfortunate for the Minardi driver there, as, well, Piquet gave him no choice. There was too little time to react. And Alboreto now getting that new front wing on. It will be a bit of a slower stop. He does get out in 7 or so seconds, but we'll see if he can work his way back into the points. Does have a fresh set of tires, so should be able to push on these until the end. Only 27 laps to go, so should comfortably get these till the end. And we'll keep an eye on Alboreto as Piquet, well, with that rejoin, lost a rear wheel, and that puts him out of the race, so that's very unfortunate for the Benetton squad, as it seems they won't be scoring any points here today. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi still leading this race, and now his teammate pits as Gugelmin now comes back out of the pits. Jan Lammers does pass him, and there comes Alain Prost up into 3rd place, but Gugelmin now with a somewhat of a big overcut, even though he's had to make an extra pit stop. He will now have a extreme tire advantage to those 2 cars in front of him, and I'm sure Gugelmin should be able to recover that. Oh, it's actually Dalmas in 7th that's in front of the Ferrari, so Guillermin is in 3rd still right now, so he only has Jan Lammers in front of him to worry about, as I doubt he'll get back up to Emerson Fittipaldi. Another pit call there for Teo Fabi. Guillermin now trying to get past Dalmas. Let's see if he does. Pulls to the inside. Is Dalmas seat position? Yes, it seems like he does. So easy pass there for Gugelmin, and now his mission will be to hunt down the Zach speed of Jan Lammers ahead of him. Goes through Curva de Signa. Very fast. Corner, and then long swinging corner, double droite, double set. And then Le Pingle. And daar. And Est du Village. And then comes turn 10, Virage de la Tour. And then the last corner, turn 11, Virage du Pont. And then you have the start-finish straight. Quite long, very fast. And see there, Jan Lammers in the forefront. Mauricio Gugelmin definitely making up time. Meanwhile, his teammate still in the lead. Eddie Lawson still doing good there, even though he's had those issues early on. Still pushing through, trying to get to the end of this race. And his teammate ahead, Satoru Nakajima, trying the same thing. Bobby Rahal now in 9th. Not, well, I say not too far behind Michael Andretti, but Michael Andretti is there ahead of him. You can just about see him in the distance. So, be a tough ask for Rahal to get inside those points. And JJ Lito. Now the only remaining Benetton. In 14th place. It's not much he can recover from today, I think. Mauricio Gugelmin already gaining about a second on Jan Lammers ahead of him. We'll see if we can follow Gugelmin around. See when he catches up to Lammers. Gugelmin, another Brazilian, of course, is quite a bright future ahead of him, it seems. Performing really well here, and I'm sure Ashihila has been very pleased with Gugelmin's performances. He's, well, we know he's chasing Emerson Fittipaldi today, but he has shown that he has some pure pace as well to tussle with the veteran, so probably one of the better driver pairings on the grid. As Gugelmin now within 2 seconds of Lammers ahead. As we come up to the last quarter of the race, we have Fittipaldi in first, Jan Lammers in second place. Third place goes to Mauricio Gugelmin. Bobby Rahal just had an electrical issue, so he will have to come into the pits. But anyway, fourth place, Alain Prost. He's still has about an 8-second gap to make up to Gugelmin in front of him. Ross Cheever in fifth for Minardi. Then comes Riccardo Patrese. Then Yannick Dalmas. And I think actually Bobby Rahal might have pulled to the side of the road. There's a car stationary. Yes, he did. So Rahal not able to continue. And his car will be cleared up promptly. But yeah, Ross Cheever in fifth. Then comes Riccardo Patrese in sixth for Ligier. So Ligier might get some much needed points here. Then comes Yannick Dalmas in seventh. So Might be a second point scoring finish here for Dalmas during the season. Then comes Michael Andretti for Tyrrell in 8th. Then Michele Alboreto just outside the points for Minardi. Then comes Theo Fabi in 10th for BMW. Then Martin Brundle in 11th. Jeff Lees in 12th. Then JJ Leto in 13th. Then comes Satoru Nakajima in 14th and Eddie Lawson in 15th. Gugelmin within a second now of Lammers. Surely this will be, or might be, the lap he strikes on as they go to La Bretagne and Este de l'École. Down the straightaway now. Let's see if Gugelmin can throw anything here. I don't think he can yet, but he is closing up very rapidly. Gugelmin now going through the last sector, getting closer and closer to Lammers' head, and I don't think Lammers can put up much of a defense. It seems the pace deficit is just too high, too big. Another yellow flag, I think, and now Eddie Lawson with a puncture. But that actually does mean the end of the race here for one of the Euro runs, which, of course, if we're being honest, hasn't really impacted them as they were running last anyway. So, unfortunate race for Eurobrun. Let's hope they can come back stronger for the next round. Yannick Dalmas still in 7th place, so he's doing a really good job. And yeah, Martin Brundle, Jeff Lees, both in the Williams. And JJ Leto and Satoru Nakajima. Brundle still just outside that top 11. Trying his darnest to get inside of it, I think. Chasing down Theo Fabi in the BMW. And we'll go back, put it on TV mode, as I'll once again have to take a little short break here, but I'll be back in a minute or 5. And hope they give you some good camera angles to watch in the meantime. Be right back. And I am back here on lap 68 of 80, and Jan Lammers still running in third place. Mauricio Gugelpin has gotten past, so it's a Ferrari 1-2 at the moment. Alain Prost still in fourth place. He does have Ross Cheever behind him, but I don't think... take a quick look at what the last lap times are. So Prost doing a 109, but he was stuck. I think it was a 107.6 or 7 that he did. And the Ross Cheever about 2 or 3 tenths faster, so I don't think Cheever will be able to catch Prost unless he has some misfortune. But see, towards the end of the race, we still have Patrese in 6th, Dalmas in 7th, and Michael Andretti, well, trying to inch closer to Dalmas. Might try and steal a point off of him here. And Alboreto is also now in 9th. He's trying his best to get back up to those cars ahead, and let's see what his lap times are compared to those cars in front. Alboreto actually putting good pace in, and he's gaining about 7 tenths or so on the 2 cars ahead of him. So Alboreto not exactly out of the fight for the points. He still has 11 laps to catch up to those cars, and they're not too far ahead of Cheever here, but let's see. Barreto is there. Where do we see Michael Andretti? Michael Andretti now going into the first turn, so I'd say there's about 10 or so seconds in between them, so it's definitely still possible for Alboreto to take a point here, maybe even 2, with a really magnificent drive. His teammate there, not too far ahead, but it is a lap up on him. In the meanwhile, we do see Emerson Fittipaldi. Very dominant performance, of course. One of the back speeds in John Nielsen has dropped out. He was a bit in contention there for that podium, for one of the podium finishes, but he dropped out with some sort of suspension issue, and Fittipaldi now just has clear air. He doesn't need to push anymore. Just 10 laps of managing this car until the end, and he will grasp a victory. And if I'm not mistaken, that will be the first victory for Ferrari if they do end up in first here. And well, should they finish well here and in the position that they are there, they would be right back into that championship fight for the constructors, and it would shoot up Fittipaldi and Gugelmin up the standings as well at the same time. So would be a great result for Ferrari, both for the drivers and constructors championship. Meanwhile, the Zach speeds, they've been fairly consistent, both scoring respectively John Nielsen 20 and Lammers 19 points. So they've been spreading the workload between them, and Zach Speed still in the lead of the constructors, of course, with 39 points. And Lammers on his way to pick up another 6 points to add to that, so... $72 now, and Theo Fabi just inside that top 10 for BMW. Gugelmin in second. Riccardo Patrese down in 6th. Jan Lammers in 3rd. He was now dropping back from Gugelmin ahead of him, so Gugelmin has made a nice 5-second buffer so far. Then we have Ross Cheever in the Minardi in 4th. So Minardi starting to really... well, it looks like they're upping the development. They've also invested heavily in the second driver now, Michele Alboreto. which, well, seems to be paying off. Alberto not quite in the points, but with a little bit more luck, he definitely could have scored some here today, I think. It's not out of the question just yet either. As he get past one of the Williamses there, which I think is Jeff Leese. Alboreto there. I just want to take another look there. So we have Andretti there, and in the background you can see that Alboreto is coming around the corner onto the back straight. And just checking the times, Alboreto doing a 108.0 and Andretti a 108.6. So yeah, he's gonna need a little bit of help here, Alboreto, to get back into the points. But his teammate Ross Cheever now is getting past Andretti, so Ross Cheever, in the end, not really in any position to challenge for a podium here, but fourth place would be a good finish here for the Minardi boys, and pretty sure that's gonna put them up the standings by maybe a spot, but actually no, because Riccardo Patrese is also scoring points, but it would steer Minardi clear of Euro Brun, BMW, and Williams behind, so would almost would put 9 points to the closest rival. Now Andretti still in that 8th position. Looks pretty solid to be holding on to that. And Alboreto still trying his best, but I think it will be a bit futile here. But I think MDK will be pleased with his driving today. I don't think he could have done much more, Alboreto, and he has shown that pace-wise he is there. Maybe missing a little bit of consistency, but he's definitely in the running to be a good second driver for the Minardi squad. And Jeff Leese and Martin Brundle 11th and 12th, so a bit of an unfortunate round here for Williams as they lose out on, could have been some points probably. Then JJ Lito in that second Benetton, still in 13th, only has Satoru Nakajima behind him, who is ways down the road. And Riccardo Patrese has been, well, going under the radar a bit. He's in no man's land, so just hanging on there in 6th, and let's hope he can do so until the end. Jan Lammer still in 3rd for Zach Speed, so he's determined to get till the end here. As Fittipaldi has started lap 76. Meanwhile, Googleman getting through some traffic. Down the back straight he goes. And Ferrari lining up a very nice result here with 4 laps to go. Now on board with Emerson Fittipaldi. Starts lap 77 out of 80 at the for the French Grand Prix here for the PCDC Managers League in the year 1989. Yeah, Ferrari looking to reignite their championship chances here. And, in the meanwhile, Alain Prost, who's in 5th. I don't think he's kind of on his own as well. Down the back straight he goes, but he's in a solid 5th position, so much needed points for McLaren, who have been in 5th and will now, I believe, overtake Benetton if the result stands like this. Trying to count back how much points he would get. 4 points. Yes, it will put them 1 point ahead of the Benetton. So, I mean, Ferrari will most likely move into 2nd, and McLaren will most likely move into 4th place, I want to say, and then Benetton will be in 5th, if I'm not mistaken. See all that when we do the standings at the end. But yeah, Prost just had a well, fairly consistent race. Nothing much worth of noting. Wasn't an amazing performance, but definitely performed really well. And his teammate Alboreto, or Dalmas, I want to say, has seemingly secured that 7th position. So it will be the 2nd time that Dalmas scores some points. I'm sure Pedro Dias will be very pleased with. And here is Michael Andretti fighting with it's a Williams. Martin Brundle trying to pass, and actually that makes it so that my Michele Alboreto is actually quite close to Michael Andretti now. So it's not all over for that that last point scoring position, and Minardi might actually see 2 of their cars in the points here at the end. So Alboreto has a good chance here, and I'm sure that's what he's thinking inside of his cockpit right now. He's definitely not giving up. Yeah, there's only a couple of car lengths between 8th and 9th here. Michael Andretti and Michele Alboreto. But will Alboreto have enough time? Emerson Fittipaldi is just behind him, so he might get an extra lap here. He manages to stay ahead of the Ferrari. So we're on board with Emerson Fittipaldi for the last lap of the Grand Prix. 80 laps here at Paul Ricard, and Fittipaldi has been flawless from start to end. From the beginning till the end, he's just been exquisite, and he is gonna go into Double Droite for the last time, and then down into L'Épingle de Bendor, as Alboreto is trying to get past the Williams there. Emerson Fittipaldi will come past and get the white flags as he goes down into the last turn. Virage du Pont, down the straightaway. Emerson Fittipaldi goes, and he is gonna pick up the first victory for Ferrari this season. And it comes across the line, Jeff Lees there, and here comes Alain Prost, who will finish in 5th. A bit jumbled up now because some of the cars are already lapped. And now in 2nd, so a 1-2, amazing result for Ferrari here at the French Grand Prix. They will score a 1-2. JJ Leto down in 13th. In 6th, so well inside the points, comes Riccardo Patrese. Fabi in 10th, and there comes Jan Lammers picking up a very decent podium position for Zach Speed. Edison would have most likely seen, I've liked to see a little bit more, but obviously still a very good performance. And another great performance here, Ross Cheever for Minardi, scoring good points, another 5 points in the bag for Minardi. Here comes Yannick Dalmas, scores for the second time this season. Then Michael Andretti with Michele Alboreto, the debutant for Minardi, not shabby at all in 9th place there. And yeah, a lot of mistakes in this race, a lot of inconsistencies for a lot of the drivers. So not sure if it was the conditions or just the sheer speed of this circuit that forced a lot of these drivers into their mistakes. But there's one person that comes out on top, and well, let's say there's two, because Fittipaldi and Gugelmin in first and second for Ferrari. Then comes Jan Lammers for Zach Speed in third. Then comes Ross Cheever for Minardi in fourth. Alain Prost in fifth. Riccardo Patrese in sixth. Yannick Dalmas in seventh. Michael Andretti in eighth for Tyrrell. Then comes Michele Alboreto for Minardi, his first race. Theo Fabi just inside the top 10 in the BMW. Martin Brundle in 11th with his teammate Jeff Lees in 12th. JJ Leto for Benetton in 13th. Satoru Nakajima in 14th. Then comes Bobby Rahal in 15th, suffering an electrical issue. 16th will be Eddie Lawson in the Eurobrun with a puncture. Nelson Piquet comes home in 17th. Well, actually doesn't come home because he DNF'd with that collision that he had. John Nielsen in the Zach Speed early on had to retire because of a suspension failure. Roberto Moreno for Lotus with an oil leak and an engine fire, putting an end to his race. Alan Sir Jr. for Tyrrell unfortunately also didn't finish, and then Mika Hakkinen in 21st had to pull out with a puncture, and then Ayrton Senna dropping out. First of all, these drivers also a DNF, as we saw him careening straight into the barrier after a driver mistake, which was very unlike him. So very surprising result here with that dominant 1-2 for Ferrari and a couple of good points finishers here. Again, very enjoyable. It's good to get the season back underway, and see you for round 8. Goodbye.